Merry Christmas, Blue Ridge Community Church friends. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to another edition of our BRCC Sunday School. Today we're going to find out that Jesus is humble. Someone who's humble doesn't go around telling everybody that he's the best. Jesus is the most amazing and powerful person ever, but he came to the world as a baby. Jesus didn't need to show off when he came. That's because Jesus is humble. Even though Jesus is the king of the whole world, he wasn't born in a fancy castle. He was born in a stable on a dirt ground next to some dirty, smelly animals. That's where Christmas was celebrated. Let's start today by talking about where we're celebrating Christmas. I know for me, I'm going to celebrate Christmas here at my house with my kids and my grandkids. What about you guys? Are you guys staying home? I'm assuming most people are staying home this year, but I bet some people are traveling too to see their relatives or their grandparents. What about it? Where are you guys spending Christmas? Yeah, that's what I thought. Some people are traveling, but most are staying home. But you know what? We're all celebrating in different places. The stable is the first place where Christmas was celebrated. And it was a surprise to many people that Jesus was born in such a humble place. They didn't think a king would be born in a stable near animals. They thought he'd be born in a big, fancy castle. As we read in the Bible today, we'll learn Jesus did that because he's humble. Jesus shows us what it means to be humble too. Our friendship with Jesus helps us be just like him. And like I said, today we're going to learn that Jesus is humble. Before Jesus came to earth as a baby, he was living in heaven. Heaven is the best place you can ever imagine. And best of all, it's real. I want you guys to do something. I want all of you to close your eyes and think of a place where you feel joy and happiness. Maybe it's with relatives. For me, that would be at the beach, here in the ocean. Just close your eyes and just think for a minute about that place. Yeah, I can feel the sand between my toes now. Well, as great as that place is, heaven is a place that's even better. There's no sadness, and everything about it is wonderful. Are you imagining a happy place? Yeah, heaven is the happiest place ever. Jesus lived in heaven, in that wonderful place, but he wanted to be with us so bad that he came to earth as a baby. He had to leave the most amazing place ever to come to earth. Let's open our Bibles and turn to the chapter of Luke. Now, we talked about this last week. Is Luke in the Old Testament or the New Testament? Yep, you guys were listening. You're right. It's in the New Testament. And we're going to turn to Luke chapter 2, and we're going to read the first 5 verses. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to his own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to him and was expecting a child. Well, that child was Jesus. And they went to Bethlehem. So kind of they could, we just finished taking a census here, and your moms and your dads filled out that census. And it was kind of the same thing, only we didn't have the internet back then. So they had to go and be registered in person. And when Jesus came to earth, his parents didn't even have a place to stay. They had traveled far from their home to a place called Bethlehem. And Jesus' dad had some family who lived there, but it was so busy that they had to stay in a place that was kind of like a barn. And Jesus' mom gave birth to Jesus while she was there. Now let's read the last two verses of our lesson this week, which is verses 6 and 7. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. Mary laid Jesus in a manger, and a manger is a place where the animal's food is. And Jesus could have come to earth, and he lived in a big fancy castle. He could have had a big party for his birthday, but Jesus is humble. He came to earth as a helpless little baby who slept in a manger. Like I said, that's where animals get their food from. Now, I have a question for you guys. Have you guys ever flown a big fancy toy airplane? Oh, yes, I see some of you have. Or how many of you might have a fancy Nerf launcher or a model airplane on your Christmas list? They look pretty amazing, don't they? Well, what about this? Do you guys think that this airplane looks amazing? That's pretty unimpressive, isn't it? But do you know what? This airplane flies better than any airplane I've ever had. And all it is a straw, a 1x5 piece of construction paper, a 2x10 piece of construction paper, and you tape the straw to it in the middle. And if you launch this airplane with the little end first like that, I can tell you it's going to fly further than any of those airplanes that are fancy and all of that. So even though this doesn't look very glamorous or pretty or just something that you'd go to the store and want to buy, this thing is powerful, just like Jesus is powerful. And a helpless little baby didn't look like a savior to the world, but Jesus humbled himself and came to earth, died on the cross, and came back to life to save us from sin. Jesus is humble. People didn't expect God to come to earth in such a humble way, but he did. So today we found out that Jesus is humble and that he has shown us how to be humble too. Now, I want you guys to remember to pick up your craft packets. They're on the table in the fellowship hall before you come into worship service. And in that, you're going to learn, you'll have the instructions and all the materials to make a manger. And when you look at this manger, just remember how humble Jesus is when he came to earth, and that Jesus is always humble, and he always puts others ahead of himself. There's also a couple of other little special things in that bag for you. A couple little treats because you guys are such great kiddos. All right, I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. And just remember, for the next 2 Sundays, since it's Christmas and New Year's, we won't have this Sunday school lesson, but we'll be right back the first Sunday of January 2021. Merry Christmas, guys.